Starting again. That's good.
All right, so yeah, the idea, not this, good Lord, no. But what I want to do is I want to call up, I want to get this, this was the last data set a week ago, so it's been a while since we talked about it. It was the Americans under age 65 without health insurance. And we got as far as getting the model last time, but then we didn't go any further than that, because that took us right up to the end of the class. So if anybody, I think I still have a few extra copies of the booklet that I gave you guys last time. If anybody wasn't here last time, I made a little, hand these around, I made a little booklet for the TI-83, TI-84 that walks you through how to generate a best fit line and a scatter plot from data. If anybody does not have that data in their TIs, we're about to put it back in mine so we can all do it together. You also have the data coming around on that sheet that I just gave you. You also, if you want to go back and revisit them, the videos that are posted from last week have it all in there too, so it's in a bunch of different places. So I'm going to put this right here. I'm going to see if we can see that on the screen-ish.
Not bad.
Not bad. All right. So, the first thing we're going to have to do is, well, does anybody still have the data from last week? You guys can take a nap for the next couple minutes. You're caught up. I got a clear data. Has anybody lost their data from, that's it right there. Anybody lost their data from last week? I know I have. Wow, okay. Maybe we don't know. Turn your TI on, press the stat button, and then press enter. In case you need it, take the little booklet out from last time, because that walks you through, that walks you through all the steps. There's more in case anybody needs them. Alright, so you turn it on, press the stat button, press enter, and it takes you to this list. Please.
I have stuff from my old math class.
As do I.
What?
Let's get rid of it.
How? I'm hitting the clear button and it's not doing it.
Don't worry. Here's what you have to do. You have to put your blinker on top of the list name. And this is what's in the book. That's why I gave you that booklet. That booklet is more than just inputting data, getting a scatter plot and the best fit line. It also teaches you list management. It also teaches you how to fix lists if they're missing. It teaches you how to turn plots on, turn plots off, turn equations on, turn equations. It's a lot in those 4 pages. It deals with 1 or 2 of the more popular errors that often happen, which will happen in here. I promise they'll happen again, but that's okay. So to clear them, up there, press clear, press down. Let everybody get to this point where we have nice, clear lists. The important thing is to make sure you go to the top of L1, press clear, and then press down. That way you actually wipe the data clean. Now if you press the delete button instead, it erases the list. Does anybody see this? Something like this, where they're missing a list name altogether? Does anybody see that? Nobody? Okay. I mean, if you do, if that ever happens in the booklet, it explains how to get them back, too. I think it's on the first page. So, I'm going to go to stat, put mine back. All right. Good so far?
Yeah.
Good so far? I'm also going to do one thing, because I have to turn those off. I was here playing with stopwatches in 244. Okay, so now I got to input the data into L1 and L2. So remember, what is the data that goes into L1? Do you remember?
Years.
X is, very nice, thank you. And it was years, I believe since 1990. So in L1 it's just, oops. In L1 it's just 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Boom, done. And if you have the booklet in front of you, it's the same data that's in your booklet. We're gonna mess with that data today. We're gonna play with mount actual ticket prices, and we're gonna measure some parts of our arms and see if we can find anything interesting about our arms.
What did you get to get to L1, L2?
Stat enter. The stat button. Middle of the TI. Yeah, there you go.
Sorry,
Yep, you got it.
Okay.
Use my little booklet in good health. I'll autograph it for you if you want me to.
Yeah, sorry.
Don't want to brag. Just use it in good health. I gave it to you to take with you if you have more math classes after this. It's kind of a nice thing to take with you to 243 and 244 as far as data entry. It's just a nice little resource. L2 are going to be the Y values, which were the what?
35, 38, 40.
Oh, good. But what do they stand for?
The millions of people.
Exactly, millions of uninsured people. Millions of uninsured people. Not 141. Not 141. And 44. Yeah. Beautiful. Now I'm going to go through this a little bit rapidly as far as button pushes go, but you've got the booklet. if you need more practice, you can always go back to the booklet, and we're going to do at least one, if not two or more of these today on different data sets. So realize that we got plenty of practice in front of us, and the quiz next week will involve Facebook and their privacy policy and this kind of thing. I mean, this data exists all over the place for linear regressions. Okay, so to get the scatter plot, second y equals. The second button, which on mine is blue, on some of them it's yellow, and then the y equals button. This is called the stat plots menu. I'm not sure exactly where you are in the booklet, but I think you're on page 2-ish. Yeah, Cassie says yes. Plot 1, turn it on. The type is a little bit weird. It's the first one right here. So when you arrow down to that, you want it to be the scatter plot, which is, you have 6 different types of charts, all of which are fantastic. That's the one you want, though. You want the scatter plot. The other ones are great, too. We'll deal with them in 243 and 244. Might deal with them in here. We'll see how time goes at the end of the class. My goal is to get us into some statistical analysis. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. X list and Y list, what should they be? They should be L1 and L2. Chances are, as soon as you turn the scatter plot on, it automatically says that. But if you ever need to get them, I believe on the top of page 3, it tells you how to get L1 and L2 if you need to put them in there. It's a second function hit and then a number hit. And then you're good to go. You're set up. Scatter plot's turned on. X list is going to be your data, the years since 92. Y list is going to be your uninsured in millions. What's the way? Now, in 95, I'm guessing you just press the graph button. Hit the graph button, and then you'd be like, oh, sweet. Not so sweet. And the problem with it is, whatever window you were already in previously, it's going to reuse that window if you press graph. And that's why on page 3.5 of your little pamphlet here, there's a really neat way of pulling your data up. It's the zoom button, which is top row, middle, zoom. And then 9, if you look at what 9 is called zoom stat. That means it's going to look at your lists and build a window around your lists. So it's going to pick, watch, if you grab that, there's your scatter plot. There's your scatter plot. If you now look, press the window button. I know I didn't, in your booklet I don't know how you do this. But if you press your window button, you see those mins and maxes of X and Y? Those are based on what you put in your lists. So your X-min was, your smallest X was 2 and your biggest X was 10. So it built the X-min and X-max around that. It went 0.8 down and 0.8 up from that. Oh, sorry. Don't look at it.
X-Men, what are you talking about?
Don't look at it. I'm sorry. When I teach 95.
I started thinking Wolverine now.
Sorry, brother. When I teach 95, I mean, I had a couple of you guys for 95. I am heavily into the TI. We use it all the time. And some people don't in Math 95. Some people never touch it. So when my 95s are always going to the window, always messing with the windows, so I apologize. I'll never mention it again. Basically, when you press zoom 9, the TI decides what window is the correct size for your data and gives you a window that puts the data in there. Dina, was that you? Who was? I saw a hand.
It was me, but I figured out my...
Oh, okay. Tell me your name again.
Melissa.
Melissa. I was going to say Michelle, so Melissa. Good. Should have just guessed. All right. Good so far? Please.
So you're saying
This is
like,
Michelle.
No,
This is not Michelle.
no. Kelly.
This is Kelly. There's an L sound in there. Go ahead.
Irene, right here. So you don't ever have to use that anymore, put in your lines. You can just go to the 9?
As long as you have data. This is a great question. As long as you have data in L1 and a plot turned on. Yes. So as long as you have a plot turned on, it will take you right to a window that fits it. Yeah. And this is one of those things in my 95 class, we always dealt with data, so we're always doing that. There are many different zoom, it was zoom 9 obviously, zoom of like, there's 15 different zoom menus. There's zoom standard, there's zoom decimal. Data will find, it'll basically find this window for you on your TI. So yeah, I mean, it's a nice shortcut.
Yeah.
And thank you for that question, Kelly, because you do want to look at the data, because the whole point, we're going to look at 3 different kinds of data in this class. Linear, quadratic, and exponential. And there are many, many more kinds. As a subcategory of exponential, we're looking at something called logistic, which you'll see why you care about that momentarily. And I say momentarily 2 weeks from now. The idea is, once you get to the point where you can look at data, you then have to decide how it's behaving. And we decided this is pretty linear, because it looks like it's trending upward fairly consistently. As x gets bigger, y gets bigger, and it appears to be getting bigger fairly consistently as we go. On your exam that I have hyperlinked for week 5, you're going to analyze Usain Bolt in his world record time of the 100-meter sprint, which is ridiculous. You're going to analyze his position graph, and you're going to decide, is it linear, is that quadratic, is it something else? But the idea is looking at the data first, so it's so crucial to get that window to get a good look at it. Then once you're here, you're like, yeah, it looks linear. Okay, once you've said, yeah, it looks linear, then we can get in there and we can put the best fit line through it, which is right here on the Excel spreadsheet. But of course, how did we get that? Well, we got that via the TI. So the button pushes for that, stat, 1 over to calculate. I think we're on page 3 at the bottom of your booklet now, if you're keeping track of your booklet pages. And we're going to use a few of these in 105, but the one right now is this guy, lin reg ax plus b. Some of you may have noticed there are 2 of them. There's a lin reg a plus bx. I don't know why. Down lower. Yeah. It switches the slope and the y-intercept. I don't know why. I don't use it. I just use the top one. Some of you may have never noticed that before. It occurs to me for bringing it up. That's okay too. So we're going to use lin reg ax plus b. Grab that. Now it uses, I do like this, it uses a for the slope instead of m. I love that. Because it's alphabetical. A, b, m. Why do they call it m? Slope starts with s. I don't have an answer for that. I don't have an answer. You can press, oh, yes.
I got error.
Error. What is the error?
Syntax.
Syntax. I'll come, let me come back and take a look real quick. You don't just want to press enter right now. I mean, you can. If you press enter right now, it's going to do the math for you and come up with the slope and the y-intercept. Totally. But why don't you want to do just that? Do you remember?
Because if you do the Y1, it'll put it in the...
Is it Aaron?
Yeah.
Yes, if you put a y1 after the lin reg, it will then take the equation and put it into y1 and you can graph it with the data. And you want the equation because the equation is what we're going to use to do all of this down here and actually do math on the model that you've created.
So how do we back out of here?
That's okay. I would just press clear, back to a clear home screen. Now there are a couple ways to back out. One trick that you may or may not have learned in 95 is press second, enter. And what that does is it calls up the last thing you typed. And you can call up the last few things that you typed. And that's what I was doing in 244 earlier, in case you were wondering. That's what I was doing in, this was actually a program I'm trying to write for you guys. It's not working right now. I was trying it a bunch. And eventually I'll come back to, my God, it goes back far. There we go. I think it goes back 20. Now, which one is put a Y1 after that? And this is, I think, on page 4, top of page 4, vars button, which is, vars is kind of diagonally down from stat. If you press that vars button, and then just over to Y vars, enter, lin reg ax plus b, y1, we're getting an error. Syntax, let's go to that error. Oh, you got an extra L1 in there. There we go. Well, it's okay, you got rid of it. This brings up a good point. Every once in a blue moon, you'll get an error called a syntax error. Thank you, actually, Melissa, for pointing that out. Here was the error Melissa had. She had typed this, and then press enter, and the TI doesn't like that. If their errors are aplenty on a TI graphing calculator, and they're usually extraordinarily awful at explaining what the error is. They give you one quick name in 8 letters or less, and it's your job to figure out what it is. But I will tell you this, if it ever gives you a go-to error like this, go to it. Number 2, and it'll take you right to where the problem is. And the problem right now is saying, oh, there's a problem between the L1 and the lin reg. And that's when you go, oh, the L1 doesn't need to be there. So you would take that out. And then you put the Y1 at the end. Oh, tell me your question. Tell me your name, too.
I don't know, Justine.
Justine.
Now when I do the stat
Yes.
and go to calc
Yes.
and then
4.
lin reg, mine looks different.
It does. It's okay. It's okay. You have an R and an R squared.
Okay.
That's okay. That's all right. Come back to that in a second. Press enter. Now, some of you, when you run this menu, it has a y equals ax plus b. That's just your slope intercept form. Then you have the a is 1.05. What does that mean again?
Slope.
That is the slope of your linear model. We'll come back to, Chelsea, hold that thought. We'll come back to what that means momentarily. Thank you. B is your y-intercept. All of us have that. Some of you might have an r and an r squared value as well under there. Those are called diagnostics, and one of them is particularly called the Pearson's correlation coefficient. Totally rad number. You don't need to worry about it in this class. 244, we analyze it in great depth. But you have to get into this to start analyzing that, and I don't want to torture you with that. So 244, I'll torture you all day long. Now the beauty of this is you now press the graph button, and your line appears with the scatter plot, and you can go, oh yes, that's quite nice. That's what I was hoping it would look like. It basically follows the data. It misses. Remember why it's called a best fit regression line? It didn't. No, it didn't. You've got to press enter at the end. Yeah. Why is it called a best fit line? Is this Tony?
No, I was just asking a question.
No, your same question. What's your name first?
Michael.
Michael.
I can't find why I'm not here.
Vars, right, enter, enter.
We have the same problem.
I don't have.
Oh, you have that mode set up differently, don't you? Yep. Hang on one second. I can turn that mode off. No, that's off. Yep. No, Vars. I can't turn this off, can I? So what you have to do is you can put the Y1 right there. Okay? And it's in the same place on yours, just to... Why is it called a best fit line? Shelby, go!
Because it best fits each point on the graph.
Yes!
Okay.
It's the best possible line to fit the points on the graph. Remember what makes it the best fit?
The square, make that little.
Good! It misses every point, yeah? It misses every single one. There's a little bit of offness for each of those. But if you draw out the squares on each of those, it misses them the least. So the best fit means the least worst, if that makes sense. The only way it's going to be a perfect fit is if the data actually has a perfect slope. 1.05, 1, 1.05, 1, 1.05, 1. That's the only way you're going to get a perfect fit line. This is the best, and those values, Justine, those r squareds and r's you got, those are a measure of how well it fits. The closer those are to 1 or -1, the better they're fitting. So, and again, that's a 244 issue. We'll come back to that, those of you taking that journey. please.
How do you decide which direction to make the squares?
Well, if the point's above, oh, you mean left or right? Doesn't matter, same area. That geometrically that wouldn't matter. So if you were to sketch in like the residual here, whether you draw it this way or that way, is that your question,
Yes.
Kel?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, it's the same area.
Okay.
And mathematically, you don't have to draw the square. Just take the length and square it, and that would be a square. I like using the square idea because it's visual. Mathematically, if you look up, now that this is not the r squared value, but you'll be taking these things and squaring them, and that's the residual is actually the distance between a predicted and actual value,
Okay.
and you square that distance, but you don't have to actually draw the square when you're doing the math. I like the squares, and the video that I made deals with the squares because it's way more visual, and you can see the square blowing up.
Right.
So you're like, oh, okay, as it gets bigger, my estimate's getting worse. So that's why I like having the square in there. Yeah, please.
When you were doing the limb regular, putting the Y1 in,
Uh-huh.
how'd you do that?
Do you have a booklet?
Actually, I'll find it.
But no, it's page 4. I'll tell you right now, it's the Vars button.
Okay.
Right, Vars, right, enter, enter. That's how you get Y1. Vars button, then go to the right, boom, enter, enter. Now, I'm not trying to push that question off on the booklet, but I cannot emphasize enough that little resource you've got. We're going to use that for the next couple of weeks. And you're going to be using it all the time because you're going to constantly be making scatter plots as we go through this for the next couple of weeks. Make sense? Excellent, excellent, excellent. So now, let's answer some questions. I know we already answered one of them. I want to stop and start the camera again.